Hi everyone, it's Veroosh. Welcome to my channel, and I hope you guys are doing well today. This is a reading for the new moon that's happening tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Pacific in the sign of Leo, but this is a reading for all the signs. So as usual, we're going to go over the astrology first in a collective message, and then I'm going to break down the astrology for every single sign and pull a few cards for you guys. So I'm excited to be here, and I hope you guys are well. If you hear in the back, I have a fan on because we have a heat wave going on, just like a lot of the west coast of the United States and in Europe. So, okay, so this new moon is happening tomorrow morning, as I said, at 5 degrees of Leo, and this is happening in the first decan of Leo, and it's happening at 11 a.m. Okay, so this is when the sun and the moon join together in the sign of Leo. And in a bigger picture, as we've been talking about, I'll maybe link the previous video in the description down below and at the end. This is a part of a series of transits this week that are going to be very intense and very powerful. They're going to affect your life a lot. So I'm excited to tell you guys about this. I really like this new moon. I have a feeling that it's going to bring a lot of change and transformation. And it's playing very well with the other transits, like the Saturn squaring the nodes and the conjunction of Mars, North Node, and Uranus. To add to this, we are just passing as we speak. Venus is passing Lilith, and we talked about this a couple days ago, in which the moon passed this position as well. So there's a real energy here of overcoming and having a new start, having something new come up, which we have to some degree with all new moons. However, this new moon is really breaking the pattern and really breaking away from a lot of things that have been going on. So if you guys have been feeling stuck, this is the new moon for you. Although you may want to be patient with it. So that means that you may want to wait for its effects to show up over the next month, over the next 2 months. So this new moon is happening amid a lot of stuck energy. A lot of energy is stuck in its own ways and is unyielding. And what happens when that kind of energy is around, things aren't changing so fast for people, and people get stuck on repeat. So this new moon is sort of throwing a curveball at all of us. It's changing things up and breaking up the monotony. So if you feel like you've been stuck, and this is going to be hopefully a breakthrough moment. Before we get into this more technically, I want to give you guys a little caveat heads up. I was trying to get a chart up for you guys of the globe, but this new moon is actually coinciding with Lionsgate. So I'm aware that different people measure Lionsgate by different standards or expectations. However, in ancient cultures, the Lionsgate portal was celebrated when the star Sirius rose over the horizon. It was the heliacal rising of Sirius star. And so this is the kind of, this is the energy that I follow with regard to my understanding of Lionsgate. And so the Sirius star, the heliacal rising of Sirius, is actually happening alongside this new moon if you are living at the 35-degree north latitude. So if you live in Los Angeles or some of the southern states, you know, if you're at 35 degrees, it's not a specific, you know, a very specific degree. It's just a roundabout. The star Sirius will be actually rising over the heliacal rising. You'll be rising and be visible for the first time with the sun. If you are south of 35 degrees north up to the equator, Sirius has already risen. And if you live north like me in Canada, then you have to wait for a couple more weeks as Sirius rises with the latitudes. So it's a very exciting time as the Sirius star is rising and giving extra energy behind this new moon in Leo. So let's talk about some of the specifics with this new moon, so we are all on the same page. The new moon is happening in the sign of Leo, as I said, and the sign of Leo is ruled by the sun. So we have the sun in its home sign, which is and alongside the moon. So this is a very powerful new moon when considering the sign of Leo. The new moon is happening in the first decan, which means the first 10 degrees of Leo. And that first 10 degrees has a traditional rulership of Saturn. So Saturn rules the first 10 degrees of Leo. The first decan of Leo is ruled by Saturn in traditional astrology. In modern astrology, the sun rules the first decan. And so therefore you have this double whammy sun energy, in which the sun is in its home sign, and then it's also in the decan that it rules. So it adds a lot of very strong energy to this new moon. The sun is well placed, in other words, so that kind of gives us an idea of the intensity of this new moon. And this is the only new moon that happens this year in which the sun is in its home sign. We'll get a full moon in a couple weeks in which the sun will be in Leo and the moon will be in Aquarius. So that will be also nice, but this is a very nice placement if you're considering for the sun. So as I mentioned already, the first decan is ruled by Saturn in traditional astrology. And as we know, Saturn is in Aquarius, currently in retrograde motion. And so I keep clicking, sorry, and switching between, but Saturn is in Aquarius in retrograde motion, and it's under quite a lot of pressure from the nodes. So if you have been feeling stuck and life has not been progressing as fast as you would like it to be, this is probably a big part of why there's resistance. There's things that are getting in your way. There's things that are holding you up, and there's this tension between Saturn in Aquarius and the nodes. So there's this tension, and so Saturn is the traditional ruler of this new moon. So we look to Saturn for the first decan, and so when we look to Saturn to see what's going on, there's this element of tension that the new moon is addressing. But this new moon isn't about tension. It's about actually another alternative solution to your life's problems, to things that are going on. It's a left field sort of energy. So if you can imagine Saturn with squaring the nodes, there could be some type of tension in your life that is not allowing you to progress as fast as you would like it to be, as fast as you would like. And so this new moon is coming out and in some way offering to you an alternative, a different path. So it's a very nice energy. And so Saturn is, just to consider Saturn a bit more, I'm having a hard time explaining this because this touches upon the Uranus North Node Mars conjunction, which we'll talk about soon. So I'm trying to be selective in what I share with you guys so we can focus on this other energy in the next video. But essentially, Saturn is forming an opposition to Mercury, also in Leo. And so therefore there's this overwhelming, this is called a grand cross energy between Mercury, the south node, Saturn, and the north node. So there's a lot of built up tension. And as you've probably already heard, maybe from me or elsewhere, there's really a breakthrough moment that we're currently under. And so over the last few days, we've had several activation points that are already in igniting this conjunction. The conjunction between the North Node, Uranus, and Mars really has started in the last week of July and will continue right until probably the second week of August, with the high point, or the apotheosis, the exact conjunction point between July 31st and August 1st. So that's going to be when they're exactly at 18 degrees together. But for now, there's different events, astrological events, that are activating this energy. And so what this energy is sort of a breakout moment for all of us on a global level and for us individually. And so we are working our way up to this moment in which there's some kind of breakthrough, and we'll save this for the next video to talk about that. But in order to understand this new moon, it's really important to understand that there's this tension between Saturn and the North Node there. So if you look back to last year, for example, there was a big square between Uranus and Saturn that had formed throughout the whole year. And a lot of people said, oh, there was 3 squares between Saturn and Uranus, and in fact the 4th one is happening now, so that will last until the fall. So this is the final square between Uranus and Saturn, and so a lot of these themes of old versus new way versus the old way are working themselves out, and in some way there's a real push here towards new things, towards new circumstances and new solutions. So we'll talk about that separately, but to understand how the Saturn affects this new moon, or rather how the new moon affects Saturn, it's very important to consider that we're imminently going to have this moment of the Uranus North Node Mars conjunction, and it's very powerful. So the moon has actually already activated this position a couple times this week. And if you want to figure out how that affects you personally, you may want to look back to July 21st. That is when the moon was in Taurus, conjunct all these positions. A lot of different things happened in the world. Inflation started, the numbers for inflation started showing up, and they were huge. There's a currency kind of war going on with Russia and China announcing that they want to have a new reserve currency for the world that is backed by like minerals and like mined metals and so forth. So that's huge for the American dollar. And there have been new diseases that have emerged as well, which is like polio has shown up for the first time in almost a decade in America, and all these kinds of new things have come up. So this North Node energy is really activating a lot of world events, and maybe on July 21st you personally had something come up as well. This was just a few days after the full moon in Capricorn, so maybe this was the fallout of that time. And so so July 21st was one of those days that you can watch to see how the moon was interacting with the current energy. So what was your day like? How did it play out? And then the second activation was actually when the moon transited alongside Lilith and Venus. And that just happened on Tuesday. So is it Wednesday today? So yesterday, right? Yeah, I never know what day it is anymore. So just yesterday, how was your day? What came up? What kind of nuance? And especially this transit alongside Venus and Lilith, it was probably more of a personal nature transit. So what kind of things happened for you on an emotional level? How did you interact with others? Did people say something to you specifically? What new doors opened up? So look to that transit on Tuesday, the 26th of July, to see the energy there. And so tomorrow, the moon will be in Leo. And so therefore, it's going to be the new moon, and that is going to kind of tie that all in. So all of this spirit of change and this outburst in a new direction that has to do with that conjunction will really break apart some of the nuances of the Saturn squaring the nodes. And so this new moon is very close to the position, to an exact square to the nodes. It's actually Mercury that is in the position squaring the nodes right now, but it's very close, and that's called bending of the nodes. And so because of this energy, which is kind of the halfway point between the eclipses, right? It's the halfway, the eclipses happen in the south node and north node here. This is in some way the breakout moment, the answer to some of the tensions that are arising as the north node transits through Taurus and the south node is in Scorpio. So in some way, Saturn is applying resistance. I'm hoping I'm making myself clear. Saturn is applying resistance in Aquarius on the other side, the other bending of the nodes, and then the antidote or the opposite energy is with the new moon and Mercury. And on the 29th of July, on Friday, the moon will join Mercury there. So it's kind of an active set of days. And that is directly interacting with this conjunction. So all of the dates that I told you, July 21st, July 26th, right? July 28th, July 29th. Pay attention to those dates because a lot is happening there and there's a big potential for breakthrough. If you're interested in more about the nodes and Saturn and Mercury and everything that's going on, we're going to talk about that separately because of time constraints in another video. So we'll go through that, I promise. And for now, just know that this new moon is offering to you some kind of new alternative, some type of new breakthrough to the overall energy that's really, it's almost like a chicken egg that's ready to hatch, right? This energy is going to be massive, but imagine being a hatchling, a little chick breaking through the eggshell, right? So this is a huge moment of a breakout in some direction. And so really powerful things will happen over the next 2 weeks. And this new moon is providing to you an alternative perspective, a different way to look at things, and a different set of solutions. The moon itself is also creating a really nice trine to Jupiter that is now gone station in Aries. And so Jupiter has entered Aries over the last couple months and then will re-enter into Pisces through the end of the year. This is a retrograde that I'm actually looking forward to a lot. I have a feeling that because of the early spring environment, astrological environment, the conjunction between Neptune and Jupiter and all the things happening in Pisces at that time, there were things that we have individually and collectively missed. And so Jupiter re-entering Pisces for a little bit in the fall will in some way allow us to address certain things that we may have skipped over and pushed into Aries. So pay attention to your life and see what kind of opportunities you may want to pursue or what kind of alternative things you can do with what you had wished you'd done. Because as Jupiter moves now retrograde towards Pisces, you'll get a second chance. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in a dedicated video on Jupiter retrograde, but essentially just know that I'm very excited about this retrograde cycle. I think that there's definitely some things that have been missed, and for many people, wonderful things will come out of it. So a do-over, so to speak. And so Jupiter is now at 8 degrees of Aries and creating a trine to the new moon. So you may have yet another point of awareness of what you want, kind of something to distract you with, a different direction to focus on. So whatever's going on in your life, if you feel like you have tunnel vision and have been focusing on one thing for too long, this new moon is going to give you an alternative way to see things. It's a new moon in which the moon really can be itself. it sort of is, how do I say, it's in its full expression, plus the sun is in a very powerful position here. So both the moon and the sun essentially are doing what they like to do most. they're the most authentic and like well expressing of their energies, and they're supported by Jupiter, which is never a bad thing at all. So yes, there is tension in traditional astrology. Yes, there is an opposition forming between Saturn and this position, but that's not necessarily so bad because Saturn has been in this position. We'll talk about this when we talk about this part here with Mars, North Node, and Uranus. Saturn has been, it's almost like hanging on to something that's dead and done, or hanging on to something that's no longer feasible in your life. And so I have a feeling that with Saturn here, some people may feel as though things are out of control, like they would move on if they could, but they can't. So I'm excited to see what kind of opportunities come up for people in terms of what they can do with what they've got. So it will give you new options. Keep an open mind, keep an open heart, and pay attention. So here are like 3 summary statements, and then we'll do the tarot. So the Jupiter trine to the new moon, to me, really suggests an alternate path. So we have this crusty, dusty Saturn in Aquarius. By the way, Saturn in this position is really deeply karmic. So if you do good, you will get good. If you do bad, bad things come. So pay attention to just action because of the degree. It's next to some stars that are deeply connected with concepts of karma. So make sure, even though you may want to change things up, don't cut corners and don't fool around. Not that you guys would, but if somebody's watching that wants to do dirty things, then it's not a good idea with this position. But you may be feeling crusty, dusty with the Saturn in Aquarius here. Jupiter trining the new moon, just completely a different topic, a different idea, something else to focus on. Let's say you go to the gym and you're tired of the gym because it's crusty, dusty, and all that. Jupiter comes in, tennis lessons, go do tennis lessons over there. So it really sets your attention in a different direction. So you get a completely different path to what you feel like you feel stuck in. The second thing that I wanted to highlight is that Mercury is actually underneath this new moon, which is not really, I mean, it is connected to Mercury because it's in the same sign, but it's not the same degree. But Mercury is actually trining Chiron, and I like that as well a lot. And that's probably in the context of Saturn in some way, and Chiron is in a sextile to Saturn as well. So this to me suggests a breakout moment, and this is kind of to do with bending of the nodes as well. So essentially, if you feel like you can't speak up for yourself, if you feel as though things have maintained in a certain way in your life for far too long and you've been quiet about it, this transit right here alongside this new moon may have you very vocal. And especially on July 29th, when the moon hits transits across Mercury, you may actually surprise yourself about how vocal you are. This is a point of high self-expression in Leo at 18 degrees, squaring the nodes. This is kind of saying, I want to achieve this where the North Node is, but I can't do it, and I'm frustrated. I'm giving you an example. And so many people will speak up about the things that they see that they usually tiptoe around. So if you have a pink elephant in the room that nobody's addressing, you might actually have a breakthrough moment and speak on the thing that you feel is restricting you. So I like that a lot. And that happens alongside this new moon, not exactly the same thing, but pretty darn close. And so the last thing is, I think the last point had to do with Saturn. Let me just double check. Okay, so there's a bit of a nuance to my third point that I wrote down for myself. So there may be a certain degree of external pressure on you to stay and normalize the things that are going on that are no longer working for you. your environment or people that you interact with may have invested interest to keep you going in the way you have before. And that's no longer working, but for whatever reasons, you've been stuck. Saturn squaring the nodes. Things have held you up. People keep drawing you into the same issues, the same topics, the same themes. You're no longer the same person. You're ready to go. Okay? So this new moon can, for you, offer a new path, an alternative route alongside this new conjunction. So we have 2 points of starting something new, and they could be actually two very separate things. So pay attention. If you're rearing for, if you're excited about a new path, if you're excited about, going in a new direction, this new moon might be a really great one for you to be able to achieve that. So as I said, the moon is at its height of independence from the sun, and the sun is in its home sign. So both the sun and moon are working in your favor. And yes, there are points of tension and pressure around us, but overall, it's a lot of solutions to the things that we feel stuck in. I guess I should keep the chart open. So let's do the sign by sign video. Sign by sign part. I just want to say that you guys don't have to keep track because I have cards today, so we'll just use cards to keep order. So I'm excited. So first we start with Cancer. So hey Cancer, you guys will notice that these cards have different associations than traditional tarot cards. So in this case, Cancer is the moon. So let's see what you guys get. I like the way that we did our video, the last video, kind of fast, so I'm going to try to do it sort of the same way again. When I roll the dice, I get Cancer Mars specifically. That doesn't mean this message is for Cancer Mars. It's just giving me an energy in the 6th house. Have more compassion to the things that you're working on. Have compassion, focus on compassion in your environment, Cancer. So your co-workers, people that you work with, bring some attention to their needs. There's nothing happening in your 6th house of Sagittarius, but this card is suggesting, these dice are suggesting that maybe it's time for you to tune in on how your co-workers are feeling. I feel as though if you don't pay attention to their emotions, then you might miss the point and you might be offended by something, but when you consider their feelings, then you will understand what they're talking about. So we have integration. I have a feeling that you've been presented with some kind of new information, information from others or about others, and it's sort of overwhelming to a certain degree. So I think that this is all talking about integrating new ideas. The new moon is in the 2nd house, so that has to do with money. It has to do with resources. I have a feeling that how you treat others at this time, which is Saturn in your 8th house, is going to really translate to material success for you later, which means that in some way you're being challenged to rise to the forefront in work situations or where you make money. And I think that there could be like a karmic situation around you at this time in which you in some way are asked to work through compassion more or more understanding towards someone, and your ability to do so will directly yield success. So yeah, I get a leadership vibe for you with this new moon. And then I get the 3 of Wands, just perspective. I think you're going to have your change of heart about someone very soon. I have a feeling that there's probably some degree of tension about how you think about others. I feel like maybe some people around you are stubborn, especially at work, and it's really an annoying or frustrating energy. And so I'm not telling you to be friends with annoying people, but I think that this is really suggesting that in some way you will gain material success if you ease up a little bit in your annoyance or frustration towards them. And I'm not giving you a moral opinion. This is just a message. So if you're upset by that because they deserve your frustration, I think that's even more on point with the message. So the message isn't suggesting you're wrong. The message is suggesting that if you, in a difficult situation concerning others, in which it's hard for you to understand where they're coming from, if you find that place of forgiveness or understanding at this time, that will lead to good outcomes. So that's what the message is, okay? So next sign is, we have, I want to say Aquarius, but no, it's Gemini. See, these cards have different associations. Hi, Gemini. Let's take a look at your new moon energy. So your new moon energy is focused right here on the third house. The third house is ruled by Gemini, so that's nice. Let's see what you have. You have Mercury, Aries in the first house. I could see potentially some very fast conversations with siblings or people like cousins, people your own age. There could be heated discussions or saying things quickly. And I think that there's an energy here of say it before you miss the chance to say it. So this is an energy in which it feels like if you wait too long, other things will get in the way and you won't have an opportunity to say what you intend to say. And oh, innocence, right? So speak from your heart in an issue. Don't hold back in a situation. There's a situation that's emerging in which your immediate knee-jerk response is actually the response that's the best. And if you wait too little, then it'll sound scripted, or it will sound, thought you'll overthink it or something like that. So go and have that natural response to someone your age, someone you know well, someone who's either your sibling or your cousin, someone who's your cohort. I think there's an offer from someone coming towards you. There's a feeling that in the big picture, there's a real opportunity here with someone your own age, a sibling or a cousin or something like that. They're going to make you an offer, and it's a very exciting offer of some kind for you to consider. And I think if you overthink it, now I'm seeing how your natural response is to say yes, but if you sit there and think about it, I think you might have doubts. That's Sun in Gemini, the 10 of Swords. And then we have the Knight of Cups. It's saying have a favorable response to a cousin or a sibling who's offering you something. There's a message for some Geminis, and this is for Sun, Moon, Rising Gemini. If you guys go back to 2019 and 2020, that's when we had a lot of transits in your 8th house. And I suspect that many of you had lost a lot in relation to others. People in your life close to you had financially taken away from you in some way. And so things that belonged to you were grifted away or manipulated away, or there was a push-pull energy, and maybe lost relationships with others defending your material wealth. And so there was this cavity that was created by that frequency, which means that there was an abscess. There was a lack of things were taken out of your shared resources. This Knight of Cups to me suggests that someone is coming in who is an antidote to this. So where there is a cavity, it will be filled, And so you have the Knight of Cups coming in. There's someone coming in with a good offer. It's saying go say yes and give it a listen. I think up until very recently, when Venus just passed Lilith, you probably felt very on edge towards trusting others. But I think this lunar transit on the 26th of July hopefully address this issue, because it's saying go say yes to the offer. Okay? All right. So Gemini's done. Now let's see who's next. We have Taurus. Hey Tauruses, welcome to my channel. Let's take a look at this new moon energy for you. Taurus, Taurus, Taurus. Let's see. Let's roll the dice. So we have the 9th house, which is right here for you in Pluto. Pluto in Capricorn. We have Pisces energy. And we have a Pisces moon energy. Ooh. So to me, it seems as though there's really powerful things. Pluto on your MC, we've already talked about this, is very rare. Not all of us experience this, and this is true for Sun, Moon, and Rising Taurus. So don't get discouraged by people saying this is only for rising signs. Pluto in this position here is very rare, and not everyone experiences it. And so I have a feeling that there are opportunities for you in the world at large that are pretty big and pretty intense. And I feel as though that there's some confusion around that, which is the Pisces moon. So you may have a really big opportunity on your hands in some direction in life, but the details of it could be obscuring to your perception how big of an opportunity it is. We have the goddess of water, some big opportunity, some really breakthrough moment. Be on the lookout, something's coming in. I have a feeling very good potential for you in terms of where you want to see things grow, where you want to see things go. I feel as though people are coming towards you with offers. We have the Six of Swords for Taurus. And the new moon is in your 4th house of home. It feels like close to home that there's some kind of offer, there's some kind of breakthrough, but it has to do with your career and which direction you're going. We have Sagittarius. I have a feeling that close to home, it's been pretty rocky or pretty difficult. And so it's like people around you may have been disappointing to you a bit. People who should be on your team, they're not so helpful at this time. And I have a feeling that there's something in the external, or maybe someone from the past who's coming in with some kind of offer, and I don't think you see it at first. I don't think it's that clear that how good of an offer that somebody is bringing in for you. Ultimately, this is all happening so that you can have a personal transformation in the home. There's something in your home that's very stuck, very static, and very unchanging. I have a feeling that it's almost like the feeling of wanting to go home after a long day at work and knowing that when you go home, there's a negative energy waiting for you there. So you get sort of stuck between a difficult time at work possibly and a place like a refuge that's not been a refuge for you at this time. So the Sagittarian card here, be very careful with these opportunities. Take your time in trying to figure out what's coming up. There's something for you, not be careful in the sense that something is bad. There's something that's very good that you're not seeing. So pay attention. It seems like many of you may be feeling overwhelmed and very disenchanted with your current environment. So like I said before, people who should be on your team haven't been, but I think you're really on the precipice of something bigger in a new direction. So it's quite exciting, and yeah, it's pretty exciting and pretty big. So don't give up yet, Taurus. In fact, don't give up now. The conjunction here that's coming up, we'll talk about this, but it's going to be very big for your life. So if you're feeling particularly stuck going into this new moon, it doesn't have to do with the new moon. It has to do with tension that's arising for you to take the next step and make the change. I'll talk about that in the next video, okay? Okay, so next we have Aries, okay? Aries. See, Aries here gets the Death card. Very strange association. So let's take a look at Aries' chart and see what's going on in their chart for the new moon. Well, this is a new moon for love, Aries. If you're single and you want to mingle, then you better get out there somehow. If somebody asks for your number tomorrow, take it. So yeah, be open with your feelings and tell others how you feel. So we have Leo, Mars, very passionate, in the 5th house again. So there's strong indication that passions are ruling your life at this time, that there are potentials for your heart to be ignited with powerful energies. This might be a distraction. If you watch the astrology at the beginning, this might be a distraction from some of the social issues. In fact, I think many Aries people had turned away from social circumstances to focus on work and career because the options in their social environments had been not so great for a while now. However, I feel as though there's a more of a romantic energy with this new moon that is giving you some type of opportunity. And then we have integration again. So integration, I think maybe you've been waiting for something to happen for a while, Aries, and it looks like something is happening. Pay attention to the beginning of the video in which I said this new moon might actually emerge after, because we get a triple whammy. We had the conjunction yesterday between Venus and Lilith and the moon. Then we get the new moon while while Jupiter turns retrograde. And then we get this conjunction. It's a lot at once. So there are things that are emerging that are new. However, it might take some time for us to register what they are. But do pay attention to your environment. I'm taking notes down like crazy in terms of things that are happening, my observations of things. It's really helping me a lot to recognize them, so you should too. Okay, so let's pick some cards for you guys. So we have Page of Pentacles, new financial start. That's probably more for the North Node, Mars, and Uranus. We have Three of Cups, celebration. It just really feels like there's a romantic side to this. If you don't want to have romance or love, that's fine. But there's a real, when I say romantic, I mean in a broader sense, you know, like romantic movements in art, you know, those kinds of things. So literal romance may be a part of it, but it can be more of like a dramatic moment. You know, you can have a romantic moment walking in the countryside and watching the clouds by yourself. So you are in that moment of like lovely energy. Although here it really is suggesting, if you're looking for love, if you want that kind of love connection, or something's missing in your life, a piece is missing, you might be really in your moment to speak on your feelings and, you know, try to build in like a new direction. So in other words, you might stop someone at the store and say, hey, you know, can I have your number? Maybe, even if that's not your personality or that's not the way you do things, you might be more bold at this time, Aries. You might be more kind of like ready to go for it. So, and if you're in a couple, you too could be asking your partner, you know, like be more forward about love. So it's a very like sexy time for Aries. Congratulations, guys. So now we have Leos. Happy birthday, Leos. Look at this card. I really like this card. Okay, so we have the Sun card for Leos. Birthday, Leos. Meow, meow. I hope you guys are doing well. Let's take a look at your astrology and tarot. So let's see. So Leos, okay, so this new moon is happening in your first house. This is a huge time and you're under a lot of pressure. So there's a lot happening in Leo at this time, or a lot happening in your life at this time. And I have a feeling that with this Lilith and Venus conjunction in your 12th house, you may not be feeling this. You may have in recent weeks, not now, felt so comfortable with your environment. Like you may have not been sure where you stand with someone. You may have questioned somebody's, you know, ethics or somebody's like disposition towards you, something like that. But I think as the sun has entered into Leo, and as we're heading to this new moon, you're feeling better and better. I have a feeling that there's, for many of you, heavy relationship things are working themselves out. And I think for many of you, this new moon in some way is like a breakout moment. And like I said, for all the other signs, this is really true of this new moon. Wait till the smoke clears. So a lot's going to happen over the next week. Don't judge it as it does. Be attentive, pay attention, and interact with it, right? So if somebody's asking you out, go for it. but just take your time in passing judgment or understanding the energy, because it will not become clear, I would say even like third week of August, before you see what's happening. So be very, very patient. A lot is happening now. Okay, so we have Mars in the 10th house. Ooh, I like this. And I like this with your astrology. Mars in Virgo in the 10th house. That's awesome. So 10th house is career. And this is, again, this energy is going to show up for all of our readings today, because it's the North Node and Mars and Uranus conjunction. There's like real opportunities, Leo. Really big opportunities. This could be like, how do you say this? Let's say that you moved somewhere with your ex-partner. You moved to a city or a town, and you did a lot for them, but they broke your heart. They weren't really a good partner. And that had left you with some scars. This is a hypothetical situation. I'm sure it resonates for some of you, but it's not meant to be specifically that. So let's say in this hypothetical situation, you moved with someone to a town, you went out of your way for their comfort, their convenience, and it really didn't work out, to the effect that sometime after, months or years, you still feel as though you hadn't been had, but you feel as though you had put in so much energy towards someone else, and you've just been left with no residual. Like there was very underwhelmed from this situation. This new moon for you is an antidote for those feelings. So if you're feeling as though you had been held back, or life circumstances or a relationship in which you did the Leo thing and gave them your heart and your love, and all these different things happened, this new moon is actually going to give you a new, fresh start with that. And there is a connection here with your career, because that's the Mars in Virgo in the 10th house. Look for opportunities. Jupiter right now, I know it's going retrograde today, but it will actually be going through the upper part of your chart for the next 3 years, or close to 3 years. It's actually 2.5 years, but still, it's a very nice transit, and I'm excited to see what this conjunction brings into your life. A few people on social media have told me, like, oh, I lost my job and all this stuff. Like, if you've just lost your job, that's actually a good sign that energetically you're getting ready for something big. And if you feel as though you've been really stuck with career matters, and especially if that's attached to a relationship for you, so if your work was affected by your career in some way, this is a real breakout moment from that leftover energy. Okay, so we have shapeshift. Ooh, I like this. So maybe a part of this has to do with you changing who you are a little bit, changing your vibe, changing up things inside of you. This is why I said I really like Mars in Virgo. Very hardworking. And I know this about Leos are so hardworking. You're such a hardworking little lion. You're such a hardworking person. And so there's this element here of changing who you are. It's almost like you've been conditioned to downplay yourself and downplay your efforts, and now through healing and everything, you get to step back into them a bit more. Let's pick some tarot cards. We have the Two of Cups, love. Leo's feeling the love energy, the love vibe. Very lucky times. And then we have the Emperor. That's good. That's Aries energy. And then we have the Four of Swords. So peace in situations. Good movement forward. If you're in a new relationship of some kind, there's a real peace in that direction for you. I have a feeling that there's a real coming to terms with the past and real reconciliation of difficult feelings or difficult baggage from past relationships. So it's almost like you had become a different form through a relationship, and now you are now coming back into your proper state. You're healing, and it's good. It's a good energy. Okay, so next we have Aquarius. I know for Hermit we expect Virgo, but I'm going by these. I actually picked the cards before with the intention. So that's what we're doing. So Virgos, I'm sure you're coming up soon. But in the meantime, Aquarians, hi my weirdos, I hope you guys are doing well. So this new moon for you is a relationship one. Who was the other relationship? Aries, was it? Aries and Aquarius? Yeah, that makes sense. So Aries and Aquarius have these big new moons for relationships. For you, this is much more to do with who you can trust. So maybe somebody's going to emerge over the next couple weeks in terms of someone who you can really trust or depend on. I have a feeling that many Aquarians feel like they've been like by themselves, like standing in their own truth a bit much. And even though maybe other people are sympathetic or listening or around, you haven't really found that friend or that ally. So this is really feeling like an ally moment. And I think with Saturn having gone through the majority of Aquarius, you're really standing in your own truth. You've been served a lot of harsh truths in the last year and a half. So this is the perfect time to be in the right mindset and setting forth in the right directions. I mentioned in the astrology intro, which I recommend you watch, that Saturn is here with a couple stars that are deeply connected to being authentic and being truthful and standing up for what's right. And this affects all of us, but because it's in Aquarius at 23 degrees, if you have a placement at 23 degrees Aquarius, this is for you especially all the time. But for all you Aquarians in your first house here, sun, moon, and rising, the Saturn right there, it's like you've been through it and you're really standing hard in your truth. And maybe there will be an emergence of a good relationship at this time. And when I say relationship, again, very open-ended, because there's lots of different kinds of folks and what they're looking for, but it's a really trust-based relationship. That's what we're looking at here. So we have Mars in Taurus, which I love. Mars in Taurus is very hardworking, and in the 4th house. We like this a lot. So actually, Mars is in Taurus in your 4th house, so that's kind of coincidence. Coinky dink. That's pretty exciting. I get excited when there's synchronicities like this. So if you don't are not great with astrology or whatever, it's fine. Let me show you. So for your sign Aquarius, Mars is in Taurus in your 4th house, and I rolled the dice and we had Mars and Taurus in the 4th house. So like I already told you guys previously, a lot of today's reading will reference this conjunction. There's a lot going on here in the 4th house between Mars North Node and Uranus, right? With the conjunction that we're under right now. That's why it's really hard to judge with this new moon, because this new moon is bringing like another layer of novelty, another layer of new things to the game. But for you, Aquarius, this is signaling it looks to me like a fresh start in some trusty companion relationship, somebody who's your witness, somebody who hears what you're saying and has your back. And then there's overall a new path in terms of the 4th house. That could be family, but I feel like house things. Taurus, I really like that, like house things, practical matters, your own thing around the house. So whatever steps you're taking, I'll talk about this more in the conjunction video, which needs to go separate, because if I talk about it all right now, you saw in the intro in the astrology how it was hard for me to explain it all at once. So I'm separating the two. But suffice it to say, since it's come up, just know that you're meant to really follow through on opportunities. This is true for everyone, but for you, because it's coming up here. So if you have opportunities around the house, follow through, but be careful in your energy levels. In other words, the energies are very hype and it's very easy for you to overdo it. So make sure that you're eagerly pursuing opportunities and yet in a moderate fashion with a level head. So if you feel like you're suddenly tripping over yourself because you're going too fast, pull back and slow down a little bit with all the things that you're trying to build. Okay, so, but it is a very good time to move forward. It's just in how you do it. You have to be moderate and careful and practical. Okay, that's a very Taurus energy. It's the best way to approach it. So we have here courage. That's wonderful. See, courage in relationships to open up, courage to break ground in your own space, in your own home. For some of you, this fourth house conjunction will have to do with family issues as well, which means talking to family about particular issues, asserting yourself with Mars there in the dice roll. Be very careful with how you do it. It just feels like it's a good time to talk about things, but be very wary of getting argumentative or touching upon difficult topics. So just be moderate in your approach. So we have the Magician. Beautiful. You're really powerful here, I think. Let's see what else is going on. We have the 8 of Swords. That's exciting. So there's something that was hard for you to navigate and get around at, but I think you're figuring out the how. So I think that you've known the what for a while. I think we talked about that maybe a month ago, where you were sort of aware of some of the things that were coming up for you. You guys are always first past the post anyway. So yes, first past the post is, sorry, I stopped myself, but first past the post is a political term in elections in Canada. So just, so you're first past the finish line, right? And so, but here it's saying that there were things in your way, but you're really figuring out ways around them. The Strength card is the card of Leo. I wouldn't be surprised if someone in your environment is not stepping up and helping you. Somebody's really showing you good friendship. That's a really good energy. So, courage. Be courageous, others will follow. I really like this energy for you, Aquarius. Okay, so happy new moon. Okay, so next we have is Pisces. You guys get the Hanged Man card. So that is ruled by Neptune, so that's fair. Let's take a look at your card. Pisces. Your astrology, sorry. So this new moon is in your 6th house. I have a feeling that a lot's getting addressed. I have a feeling for you guys, a lot's getting addressed. We have Pluto in Taurus. Pluto in Taurus was at the end of the 19th century, I believe. At the beginning of this century, and the 20th century, at the end of the 19th. And then we have the first, so it was like the interwar period. Maybe that's when Pluto was in Taurus. Interwar, yeah, that's right, because the Great Depression, so the 30s. Sorry, in the first house. Okay. I have a feeling that you're really taking your power back, Pisces. I have a feeling that you are like really addressing some like systemic things with people around you. So, you know, if people are skirting around your boundaries with you at this time, you're very quick to address it in how things are achieved, how things are done. So, in other words, if people are like for example, at work, if people are like kind of manipulating the situation to make it more convenient for themselves at your expense, you're going to be very direct with this energy to say, you know, this needs to stop, or really enforce your boundaries. So with people being wasteful around you, I see a lot of potential for you to address that. I would not argue with a Pisces at this time, Sun, Moon, and Rising, over those things. I have a feeling that you're very determined, and I think that you see it from that perspective, because this is the Great Depression, right? Pluto in Taurus. And so it's almost like you understand the implication of allowing other people to do things that are a detriment to you for their own benefit. And it's not about not being nice. It's about recognizing basically that the cost associated with letting things go. So you're not Pisces, you're not very open and not very accommodating or forgiving at this time, but not in a mean way. It's a very, like, you know what you need to do to get to where you want to go. So I don't think that you're very willing for other people to sort of like manipulate the situation around you. Very focused energy. So we have perception. So this is actually something that many Pisces actually struggle with a lot, right? You guys give up the self for the whole. You accommodate people. Boundaries are a Piscean issue, one of them. And so that, I'm not saying all Pisces have this, but many Pisces do. And so perception, when you make the connection and you justify, when you realize, it's in how you speak to yourself. When you explain to yourself a situation in a logical way to understand why it's important to keep a boundary, it's much easier to address a boundary and make it firm. So if somebody's taking advantage of you, it's in the matter of explaining to yourself that this is a detriment to you. And when you actually see it as a detriment, it's much easier to say no, right? So I understand you want to be helpful and all that, but I do feel as though, yeah, you have this just kind of fell out, which is the High Priestess. You see the implication of things, and I think if you feel called to really draw the line on some things here, Pisces, I really think you should. I think it's going to be very important. And I think that this is an energy for you in which it's not an energy in which you cut things out, but it's an energy in which you clean things up in your environment by looking at them for what they are and then maintaining healthy boundaries. See, the people who push back against so in the Great Depression, if they address the financial issues of the 20s that were raging out of control, the Great Depression wouldn't have happened. But people kept being greedy and scaling and causing, the economy to kind of escape itself. But if they had addressed those issues there and then, 10 years of what's the word? It's escaping me. 10 years of like recessive energies or poverty that so many people live through wouldn't have happened. And so this is really reminding me of the vibe. I'm not talking only financially. For some of you, this will hit you financially for sure. But for many of you, this is like really connecting the dots that if you don't take preventative measures in your relationships with others, then they will run away from you. However, if not the people, the problems will become very bad. But this is actually saying that the good people in your life will really honor you at this time and recognize what you feel is best. You know what I think this is actually? This is really feeling like Jupiter is going station in your second house. There's something about money that's coming up for you that's saying, I have to have it this way because it's my Jupiter transit in the second house. It's a once in a 12-year transit, and I cannot allow for things to sort of get away from me, or, I have to address these things. These things must be addressed. Okay, so, and the good people in your life will praise you for it. They'll be like, that's awesome. 3 of Swords. I do have a feeling that you're going to draw the line with some people, that it's going to be a disappointment. So when you're no longer catering to, their convenience, when you say this isn't good for me, I have to change this, there is going to be some pushback, which is the 3 of Swords. And I think that for some of you, I'll tell you guys, and this may not apply to all of you, for some of you, that is going to be with your siblings or cousins. So you're going to be hurt by the reaction of your cohort. Cohort means people your own age that you're very close with. And I think that will be in some way, I don't know if you guys have heard me say this, but this is the card that signals the heartbreak, but it also signals the heart healing, because at this point when the 3 of Swords happens, you remove yourself from a situation that was hurting you. So you're actually on a healing journey with the Three of Swords. It's the point at which you finally make the right choice and break up with the wrong person, or you get away from bad friends, or you get away from bad family members who are taking advantage of you. So I think that conjunct with this, conjunct at the same time as Mars and North Node and Uranus Pisces, you might have a moment of disillusionment with how someone reacts, but I think that that's a necessary step because it's going to help you to break away from something that's not good for you, okay? This is, and I'm not saying the Great Depression, so just to clarify so I don't worry anybody, the Pluto in Taurus, I'm saying that it's like the Great Depression in the sense that in the Great Depression, they had many years to get a hold of their spending and be responsible and improve the way the economy was functioning. And we know the Roaring 20s, people just ignored it and wasted money. And that led to the scale of the biggest crash in history. And so Pluto in Taurus signifies to me not necessarily a Great Depression-like moment in your life, but this necessary address the issue before it becomes a tower moment, okay? That's what I'm referring to. So we have Capricorn next, okay? Look at this Ouroboros, very cool card, okay? And the Justice card. So let's take a look at your astrology, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So the new moon, it's in your 8th house. So a new step towards a new beginning. I think that there's a severance here from the past. You get Mars in Taurus, which is where the conjunction is happening, Mars in Taurus. But yours is in the 10th house, which is your career. So this conjunction, something that you really enjoy doing, I think will translate to money for you, Capricorn, because it's career kind of opportunities are out there. So because the conjunction of North Node, Mars, and Uranus is in your 5th house, that has a lot to do with our joy and our happiness. The 5th house is actually ruled by Leo. In your chart, it is ruled by Taurus. But did I say... Oh yeah, okay, sorry. I'm saying all these different signs I lost, but everything I've said is correct. Okay. And so I tripped myself out by saying like all these different signs. I'm like, wait a minute, who am I reading for? Oh, that's right. It's Capricorn. So, okay. So Mars, North Node, and Uranus in the 5th house stimulates something, a burning desire within you. So something you really enjoy and you love doing will come about as a byproduct of this conjunction. And that can involve relationships. We'll save that for the North Node, Mars, and Uranus video. However, the new moon is in the 8th house, which is signaling a lot of change, but it's also signaling financial partnerships with other people. So when I see Mars and Taurus in the 10th house, and I see this hedonistic, hold on, I'm screwing up my chart. Okay. And this hedonistic energy here in the 5th house, I'm like, something that you love doing, Capricorn, is going to yield for you, push you to change, and maybe buddy up or make a partnership with someone new to open up new, like a work partnership. And then in the 5th house, it will be driven by a passion of yours. And there could be like a romantic element for some of you with regard to this. This is more of a romantic energy when we're looking at the 5th and the 8th house. So this could be a romance. You might have a very passionate connection with someone at this time. Okay, so higher knowledge. So essentially what we love to do, what our hearts kind of pitter patter for, are the things that tell us what we are meant to be doing. So I really believe in that. Like, do what you love to do, and that will yield for you, some form of success. So higher knowledge comes, and I don't mean just like, I love laying out in the sun, so I'll lay out in the sun all day. No, but really get connected with what you get woken up through doing, or you know, and try to bridge the gap between the things that you like to do and like ways to build your life and meet your potential. So there's a real like find the needle in the haystack sort of formula. The right things come together. Possibly the right person is at your side. And possibly there's like the right set of circumstances are coming together towards a really good outcome. And if you have an offer from someone at this time, Capricorn, to work together, to put your money together, or maybe if in your family there's a potential for, you know, merging financially with someone, it might be kind of smart for you to think about that or consider it. Okay, so then we have the Eight of Swords. There was problems in achieving something. And in fact, maybe in the past, Capricorn, people have let you down. And then you have this, I have Leo, right? You have a much better offer on the table. And I have a feeling that maybe you had tried this before with others, or it was just kind of difficult at first. It really feels as though there's a much better person around with better solutions. Congratulations. This is exciting. But really trust your inner knowledge. If you trust someone, you should try it. You know, higher knowledge, your higher self knows what's good for you. And trying to get, when we get in touch with that understanding, that knowledge, then we are able to really choose effectively. So the skill is in identifying what our higher knowledge is telling us and then going along with that. Okay. But Mars and Taurus, I like that. In the 10th house, very successful kind of combination. Okay, so next we have Sagittarius. Hey, Sagittarius. I know it's the Chariot, which should be Cancer, but let's try Sagittarius today. I hope you guys, I'm not paying attention to comments, but I will read them after. I hope you guys are having fun chatting. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm just saying hi. Thank you for being here. Okay, Sagittarius, let's roll the dice. We have 3 more to go after this. Okay, so we have Venus in Aquarius. Venus in Aquarius. Tell me if you have Venus in Aquarius. Venus in Aquarius is a funny Venus to have, especially if you're a woman. In the 10th house, very good boss kind of transit, actually. If you have Venus in Aquarius in the 10th house, that's a very nice transit. That's a, no matter what sign you are, that's like the, you know, it's like the doctor who works in a hospital and looks at all these people and manages all these people around them. It's the lawyer who has like a ton of people working under her or him. It's a very kind of cool energy. So if you have Venus in Aquarius and you've heard things about it being aloof or kind of cold, it could be in a certain way, but it's kind of, it has its rhyme and reason. Venus is expression of love. And so through Aquarius, it's very reason driven. So the reasons why people who have Venus in Aquarius do what they do may not be self-apparent to everyone all the time. So they may get criticized or questioned on it from time to time, saying, hey, why did you do that? But the people with Venus in Aquarius oftentimes are very smart and they're very good at, like, they don't do things to, if it's in the light, because there's bad people of all signs, but in the light, in like average person, they're very fair and they're very just in their actions. Very, like, I would love to work for someone who has Venus in Aquarius in the 10th house. That I would trust that person, provided they're not a psychopath, right? A psychopath with Venus in Aquarius in the 10th house would be a nightmare. But most people are amazing with this transit. Okay, so that's my little take on that. This means that at this time in your career, we don't have anything in your chart, but once Virgo season starts, Mercury and the moon and the sun will be there. And we have a Mercury retrograde in Virgo in about a month. So for you in the 10th house, this energy could be just a really like a very astute way of taking a look at your financial and workplace situations and really understanding what they're about. How does that relate to the new moon? I think that maybe you're having a change of heart about work, or a change of perception about what you do for a living. So there may be a completely different way that you're looking at things right now. And that's going to lead to, a month from now, some types of changes that you may be pursuing. So in other words, you might be starting a new job, starting a new business, or looking for something different suddenly, because maybe you're taking an assessment of your circumstances, and I think you're seeing very clearly where things are leading to. So if it's not leading to the direction you want, then I think you might take a detour. And we have the truth. Yeah, that's what it is. Venus in Aquarius, very honest. Very, very honest. Honest to the, those friends that tell you what you need to hear even if you don't like it. So I rather have a friend who tells me the truth than someone who, feeds me lies to save my feelings. Okay, without being cruel, of course. So the new moon is happening up here, and then there's it just feels as though, Sagittarius, some of the work that some of you guys may be asked to do at this time, or may have been asked to do, is too much or tedious, or somebody's taking advantage of your work. And I think that you're really ready to break out of that. And that may not be like a great crime or like someone taking advantage of you. That might be a part of the job that you're doing, but I think you're having second thoughts about being there, or the arrangements that you have with people right now. It may be in a relationship where you're just like, this is taking a lot of effort from me, and it's not two-way street, or it's not giving back what I want. So I have a real feeling that with this new moon, there's a real focus on, like, ninth house is like peeking out from outside your bubble. And suddenly you're really thinking about, like, did I get comfortable in a situation that's not actually giving me what I need it to? Okay? I like this energy. Sun, moon, and rising Sag. Yeah, I think you're getting ready to, and when I see this for Sag, I have a feeling that you're going to make some changes very quickly, very soon. 9 of Cups. Sag is like, it's kind of like Taurus in a way. Sag is constantly moving around, but and then you get used to them moving around and doing this, that, and then they just speed off. It's almost like, it's not Wile E. Coyote and like the ostrich in those old cartoons running around, and then suddenly it just jets off. That's Sagittarius energy. We have the 7 of Cups. Where's Neptune? Whenever I see 7 of Cups, what's up with Neptune? This is ruled by Venus in Scorpio, though. Not be careful, but if you're about to make some big changes in your life, and you're about to like switch some things up, be very careful in the arrangements with regard to your housing. So if you're about to give notice and move away, make sure that you're following the proper rules. If you're about to buy a house to move somewhere and it's all a fast change, then be very careful of the details. But everything else is good. You're really seeing an opportunity to which you want to change your environment. And the 7 of Cups is just saying, be careful where you're going. Like, pay attention to ahead of you, so you don't run into a pole, sort of thing. And so good things are coming. Breakthrough opportunities. This is very fulfilling energy, the Magician and the 9 of Cups. But the 7 of Cups is suggesting that wherever you're going to, just be careful of the incidentals, of the details. But you're Venus in Aquarius, and you're seeing some situation very clearly in terms of what you need to do right now. And this new moon in Leo is facilitating that for you with the 9th house. You rule the 9th house, right? The 9th house is in your chart in Leo, but you rule the ninth house of higher thoughts, perspective, visions. You know, Venus in Aquarius, very good at chess, very good at calculating what to do, not in a manipulative way, but in a logical way. So you see things for what they are very clearly with this new moon, and it's really guiding you to make some good directions, take some good directions. And I like that I use these different cards, right, Sag? And in this deck, the Sag card is the Chariot, and the Chariot card is usually Cancer, but for you guys, it's all about overcoming and transcendence of accepting like something got stale and old, and this is true for all of us. And the conjunction between Mars, North Node, and Uranus is going to break that up. But this new moon is also doing something very cool. So suddenly you might be very ready to make a shift in direction. So now we have Scorpio next. Hi, Scorpios. Let's take a look at your astrology for this new moon. Scorpio. Let's see. Okay, so Scorpios, let's take a look to see what's going on. So this new moon for Scorpio is in your 10th house of career. Career opportunities are going to arise for you. Just give it, I would say, 3 weeks to 2 months for it to really become, but it's starting right now, but it might take some time for it to emerge. For you, there's going to be relationships that are going to be so powerful at this time this week. So there will be very important questions that are going to be presented to you by people around you. We'll talk about that in a separate video, but just this week is overshadowed by relationship things. And so you will be thinking about that a lot. And when I say relationships, I mean all sorts of different relationships, because there's all sorts of people out there. So we have Sagittarius in the South Node in the 11th house. You're letting go of a friend from the past, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had a lot of Sagittarian placements. Now you have nothing in your 11th house. It's ruled by Virgo. Next month, the sun and the moon, well, the moon right now, sorry, but the sun and Mercury will enter Virgo really soon. So that's going to be emphasized. But in this combination, Sag, South Node, and Aquarius, 11th house, 11th house is ruled by Aquarius. So it's pointing to the second house. I have a feeling that there's residual things from the last transit of the South Node in the second house. And in Sagittarius, this happened until January of this year. So halfway through 2020 through all of 2021, the South Node was in Sagittarius. There may be leftover relationship, friendship things from that time. And you may have had new friends through that time. And maybe some of those friends, sorry, I just knocked my computer, I almost knocked it over. But anyway, I did so good today. I didn't even break anything once. Okay. It feels as though between about mid-2020 and the end of 2021, you may have made new friends or set up in new circumstances. But I don't think for many of you that translated into long-term relationships or friendships. I think now that the South Node has been in Scorpio, many of you have left those connections behind. And as the South Node rolls through Scorpio, there's a real refocus on the self. But here, this is saying release something from friendships of the last year and a half. Okay? And so this new moon for you is happening in your 10th house, and some new things are emerging. It's going to take some time for them to come. But I also have a feeling that you're going to be confounded with relationship issues a lot over the next week and a half. Something big is coming for you in terms of relationships, friendships, alliances, just new things, higher knowledge. So this is really cool for Scorpio, especially with the South Node rolling through your first house. South Node in the first house, you've heard me gush about it. I love this transit. It's a really honest, get in touch with the self sort of transit. And when we get in touch with the self, we can really hear truth about our environment. So you're hyper focused, hyper tuned to your environment at this time. You know who's good, you know who's bad. It's very self-evident. And with this energy here, I have a feeling with Saturn in the fourth house, this could be connected to family, but it really feels like certain people in your life who you can't necessarily get rid of, you can't avoid, you can't stop calling them. There's something that's binding you to them. And so you have like a continual relationship with them in some form because you sort of have to. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do feel as though those relationships may arise and add some complexity to your current circumstances, but also there's new breakthroughs and new opportunities to look forward to. So, and out of all of that, new things will emerge. It's not negative. That's why I paused, because I didn't want it to sound like bad things were coming. They're not. It just feels like you're dealing with people that you already know, but by dealing with those people that you already know, new things emerge out of that. So we have the moon in Taurus, 6 of Pentacles. There's a real relationship that's built around, how do you say this, give and take. And so there's a lot, when you have a friend for a really long time, and each person gives to the other person a lot over a long period of time. And so it builds up, like the integration of that friendship gets really intense because both people like materially give to each other or emotionally. It doesn't matter what kind. It has a feeling, there's a real feeling here, Scorpio, of really some like long-term integration between yourself and others. And then we have the 9 of Swords, and you're kind of bound up in those relationships. Feels very uncomfortable and yet reassuring and stable at the same time. And then we have the King of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Out of all this, like I was trying to say earlier, this is the kind of, I'm like an Aquarius moon, so I'm like, go free, go be free, run away, if it's uncomfortable, whatever, but in this energy, it feels as though there's this like need to stay, and I'm not in any way condoning staying in bad relationships. So if the relationship is unhealthy or toxic, don't stay there, but in a somewhat uncomfortable, integrated relationship that's coming up right now that you sort of feel uncomfortable with, but it's not really bad, but there's like a lot of history there. It seems as though out of all that does come something that's very positive for you. So hold on to the tension and the pressure. And here in the fourth house, it's even suggesting family. So, throwing family out the door isn't necessarily a good option for everyone. So hold on to the tension that's coming up. There's definitely a clearing out of certain energies, but there's a real good outcome here in terms of relationships, a transcendent moment. There's going to be that's why it was that way. There's a real lesson learned sort of thing. And maybe not in fact, I don't feel as though it is with the person or the people in question. I feel like if you tough it out for long enough, provided it's not toxic, then maybe there's an outcome out of all of this that's actually quite beautiful and lovely. So yeah, just hold on a little bit more. And I think that if I'm saying this and it resonates for you, your higher knowledge already knows this. So this should be a confirmation rather than like me telling you something you don't know already, right? Okay. And watch this again. I said a lot there. So next we have is Libra. See, Libras get an emperor in this deck. So maybe we'll use this deck more because it's kind of different. So it's kind of new and fun. Libra, let's take a look at your energies for the new moon. Oh, we have Libra Mars. A lot of my clients in the last few days have had Libra Mars. I have Mars in Libra. It's a really good placement for Mars, in my opinion. It's very like even tempered. I don't get upset for long, and I usually see all sides of the matter, so I never usually stay mad at people. I find it like very helpful. It's a very helpful transit to have. It's a good Mars to have. Plus, I'm very, very good at arguing. Mars and Libra, very good at arguing, discussing things. So, okay. Mars and Libra in the 12th house. Even if you have someone who's in opposition to you, like let's say somebody's working against you, Libra, or somebody's sneaking around, you will have opportunities to address that. The 12th house suggests that there's something behind the scenes, something that's hidden, that you are not being shown, that's not really up front. But I think that there will be an opportunity to indirectly prove, if there's a rumor, you will do something to prove the gossip wrong. You will have the opportunity to say something to address a hunch. Like, if you feel like your coworkers are gossiping about you, you will have the opportunity to vindicate yourself. With this new moon, it is in your 11th house, so it's letting people see a different side of you. So if you feel as though you've misrepresented yourself and people don't get you, and you're like, man, I just want people to see for the good. Libra's goodwill energy. Like, Libras are all about, like, wanting people to, you know, like be happy and fair with each other and nice. And when you get ahead of yourself as you're trying to manage all the life situations you're in, sometimes you may feel as though you become unlike yourself and you start feeding into the energy of negativity. And so then you start longing for like, oh, peace, everyone. Libra's like the peace sign, right? So there's a moment in all of our life, but Libra feels this very viscerally, where they get away from that peace moment, from that peace sign, and they feel like, oh man, in the process of living life, I lost track of what I am and what I value. And so this new moon in the 11th house, it's your opportunity to begin again to show that energy of goodness and fairness and kindness and not being, you know, like difficult to people. In asserting yourself, this happens to me too, so I'm not talking down to anyone. In asserting yourself, sometimes you misrepresent yourself in trying to work things out. We're not perfect, right? So, and then there's this energy here of like, hey, I actually want things to be, what am I actually doing? That's the question. And so with this new moon is you get a whole bunch of new opportunities coming at you to reinstate the baseline at which you want to work. And that's fair, even Steven, and kind, right? Bringing peace to everyone. You don't want to bring people problems. You don't want to complicate others' lives. And I think you're at this stage where you're just like, man, I just really want things to be fair between people, and I don't want to be a part of the problem. And that's your new moon here. And that's going to radiate out and bring you back a lot of new friends and nicer energies. Maybe you've recently realized that around you there's just a lot of mean-spirited people, and maybe that's happened because you've been mean-spirited a little bit in the recent past in dealing with things. So this realization point is like, oh man, you know, oh man, like I actually don't want this energy. I want to be high vibe Libra with good vibes for all. So you get an opportunity here. It's very exciting. This we'll talk about separately, the 8th house for you. You may really want to put an end to something very quickly right now. Don't let your passions drive you to do things you don't actually want to do. So don't overdo this energy, Libra. But we'll talk about that separately. Jupiter is going over your descendant right now. So if you're single, over the next 6 months, it's a really good time to meet someone and fall in love. So we have dream time energy. Yeah, I just feel as though I feel as though for you guys, there's a real disconnect between your, not imagination, but your in your head, how life wants to be and how complicated it's gotten. And I think that this is a real easy way for you to actually make things simple again, make things friendly again with all these people. And I think you'll have an easy time doing it, even in circumstances where you feel as though it's so complicated and so hard to resolve. I just feel as though you're getting like a big burst of energy in a good direction. So yeah, it's wonderful. And it's very close to Libra season. So when the sun enters Virgo in mid-August, things may get quiet again, but then it will emerge in your first house. So give it 3 months for it to work out. But it starts with this new moon here. So, you know, if you're frustrated, and this realization point is what matters. If you're sitting there and you're like, there's so much arguing around me, I never wanted this, and I'd never wanted to be a part of this. If you're sitting there and you're watching all that happen, that realization point is your sign that it's about to change towards the dream state, what your vision is of what you want. Very cool. Mars in Libra. I want fairness for everybody. I want everyone to like each other. Maybe not like each other, but, you know, be cordial and nice. So just a lighter energy. So look, that's your strength. I guess that's your strength, Libra. You know, it really is. It's not really about only you. You're really you bring the common ground to people. You're a great mediator. And then we have 8 of Pentacles. For some of you, this may involve work. And with Lilith there, you may have had things at work where there was really wasteful people around you causing a lot of distress and a lot of drama. So you get your peace of mind back, you get to work again, and you get to push forward again with much lighter energy. I like this a lot for you. I feel like this is like peace of mind and getting back on track with the way you want things to be, which is like without conflict with others, just in a nice energy. Okay, peace of mind, right? Okay, last but not least is Virgo. Virgos, you guys get the High Priestess. So let's take a look at your astrology for the new moon in Leo, which is in your 12th house. Okay, so new moon in Leo in the 12th house. You're one of those signs for which the conjunction between Uranus, North Node, and Mars is going to be very overwhelming to the new moon. But this new moon is starting a lot in the in behind, so things that may not be apparent to you are starting right now, and so it's going to lead to things, but you're going to really see some breakthroughs happening in your life and changing things around. So look forward to that. So we have Mars in Taurus. I like how when I rolled the dice today, you guys can look back at all the segments. It was all like Mars in Taurus, Mars in Capricorn, Mars in Virgo, like very like hardworking. And Mars in Taurus came up 3 or 4 times, and Mars is with the North Node here. And here in the 10th house, this just means that whoever is watching, so this is for Virgo, but this applies to all, your hard work, your effort, application of effort, it's all going to a good place, and that's going to lead to good outcomes. I'm not saying that Mars in the North Node may not cause problems for us. We'll talk about that in the separate video. But we can't go through life assuming the worst. And so Mars if you've been working hard, if you've been really trying to put in the effort, Virgo, I think that this is going to yield for you some really good outcomes, okay? Okay. So the new moon is in the 12th house, which to me signifies that maybe some things are starting up behind the scenes for you, and you're not certainly aware of some of them, and they may actually be very correspondent to the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction. So something's starting, something's changing, and we have deception. The 12th house is the house of deception. So maybe some truth is being brought to deceptive events that have been happening in your life. Look, Mercury is opposite Saturn, and I guess I definitely want to keep this focused on the new moon and not this conjunction. But Saturn in the 6th house could say that if you feel as though there have been so many obstacles to your progress, if you feel as though things keep getting in your way and you don't understand why, there's a process that's happening right now to address the things that are causing these delays, any kind of bad reputation, any kind of bad opinions. They're getting changed. So if there's people and opinions and things like that standing in your way, there is going to be a process with this new moon of illuminating them. And especially with Mercury in the 18th degree opposite Saturn squaring the nodes in this position here, this is saying if you are aware of this, speak up, Virgo. Talk about it. Mercury, and I'll talk about this more with this conjunction up here, but this is if you are aware, or someone may bring the truth to you. Somebody may tell you the truth, the deception, the lies, whatever else has been going on. If you have your ducks in a row, and that doesn't mean life is perfect, that just means you've been applying yourself and working hard and due diligence, doing your work in an appropriate way, then I think that there's going to be a real powerful emergence of a truth in your life at this time. Okay? So just some wrong things set right. Okay? So the new moon with deception is definitely positive. It's not an increase of deception or something like that. And the position here vis-a-vis the nodes of Mercury is definitely 100% it's positive. So it's a lie that has been stifling your progress, that's brought out into the open. A person who has been scheming behind your back is exposed. All sorts of different dark energies come face to face with your hard work and efficacy, and that yields to outcomes. And that's going to coordinate really well with the Mars North Node. So we have King of Cups, Pisces, Cancer. There's definitely someone who might be telling you the truth about a situation. The truth is revealed, and it's going to give you peace of mind. You're being told what you are dealing with. Someone hears you. There's people at your side. There's truth seekers around you that are bringing to you. It's almost like, I really hate when I see somebody working hard and people around them scheming and using manipulation tactics to screw the hardworking person out of what they have. I hate that. And maybe a lot of people are quiet about those kinds of things, but I'm the type of person, I don't care if I know you or if I don't know you, if I like you or not. I'm one of those people that fortunately for them, but I'm the type of person that will not let that be silent. That's just my way. And so, in other words, many times in life, people ignore when someone is being hurt in their environment. Some hardworking person is being taken advantage of or manipulated or kept from the truth. And sometimes people come along who are more brazen like me, who are like, screw that, I'm not going to let that happen. And either I get in a lot of fights over it, but I think it's necessary. I believe in sticking up for other people, whether they're strong or weak or anything else. If I'm in a position to help, I know that if I don't take that opportunity, it might be a while before someone else does. So I often feel that it's on my shoulders. And so in this position, I feel like there may be someone else around you, Virgo, who's like a similar temperament. I'm not trying to talk about myself, but that's the vibe I'm picking up from this. I'm like, oh, Virgo, you have someone around you who's not going to let things slide. You know, things that are benefiting from things being kept silent. I don't think somebody's going to let that slide. And it's more than one person. It's more than one person. There's truth being told. And it's because they see your virtue. They see your hard work and virtue, and they're like, nope, no more deception, bring truth to light, you know, and emancipate this person who's being kept in the dark and kept from their truth. And that lends itself really well to what will happen here with Uranus, North Node, and Mars. I hope that made sense, but in any way, it's good. So I hope you guys had a wonderful night, and I hope you guys have a wonderful new moon tomorrow morning. I had fun reading for you guys, and it's nice to be back. And I saw that somebody became a member, so 2 new members. Thank you guys for joining me. And let me know in the comments, you know, any questions. I'm going to be doing the North Node and Mars and Uranus conjunction videos now. So, you know, if something's not clear, this is the perfect time to ask. Have a nice night, everybody. Take care. Bye.